Let's find that perfect house in the Colony, Texas. That is what our goal is today. We're going to go into, in this particular series of finding that perfect house, we're going to look at the area of the Colony. We're going to be going into the real estate available in the Colony. We're also going to do a breakdown on the types of loans necessary to purchase a home in the area. So once I'm able to check and confirm that our audio is working okay, we can get going. All right, so the Colony, Texas. Let's finding that perfect house. That is what our goal is at the present moment. So in this series, as we're going through here, there's really three phases. There's really three parts that we look at. Number one is the area. We're going to do an analysis of what the area could be for us as a potential home buyers. We're going to spend a few moments doing that. And then we're going to look at a specific home in the city of the Colony. So we're going to look at the home from things to look for when you're going and touring the property, along with some details in the listing description itself that may be overlooked. So I want to highlight a few of those things for us so we know and are better prepared whenever we are looking through listings online, because that's often what we're doing. And we find ourselves maybe sometimes a little bit overwhelmed, maybe sometimes a little bit surprised at the type of home that we run into. So we want to avoid that at all costs, at least a surprise from that standpoint. And then we're going to go into the breakdown of the types of loans that we can use to purchase a home, so you know how much it's actually going to cost us to buy a home here in this area. So with that being said, let's get going. Let's make this happen. All right, just like most home searches, we're gonna go where we start most home searches. We're gonna go to the online portal. So we're gonna go to my website, JaimeResendiz.exprealty.com, which is directly tied into the MLS, so we know that we have real life information that is accurate. So we're gonna search the Colony, Texas, and right now we have 229 homes available for sale in the Colony at the moment, with the average price point being $662, so $662,000. That is the average price point. Now, with this particular search, it includes everything. It includes every type of real estate. So we're going to exclude the ones that we really don't care about for our analysis today. And we're going to leave the single family residence, which is really the one that we're going to look at with more intentionality today. All right, so for those of you that might be interested in purchasing in the Colony, you probably already know where it's located. But for those that just saw this for the very first time and not necessarily sure where the Colony is located north of Dallas. This is at one point I would argue is one of the most reasonably priced areas for the type of real estate that you would receive. Now, I'm not saying that that's no longer the case, but what I am saying is that given its location, it's one of the more attractive locations that you can be in. It's really close to Frisco, Little Elm. It's neighboring both cities, by the way, Carrollton, Louisville, and it really gives you really good access to the north part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Now, it does give you a lifeline into the south part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, but for the most part, unless you actively are looking for the Colony, you're going to miss it. You're not going to necessarily know where the Colony it begins or ends. You're going to treat it more as a Frisco or a McKinney type of a home. I'm sorry, type of a city than anything else. So the Colony is if you blink while you're going on Sam Rayburn Tollway, you've missed it. There's a lot of entertainment here. There's Grandscape is in here. Top Golf is here. So there's a lot of entertainment that is happening in the Colony right now, but a lot of folks don't necessarily know that it exists or really appreciate the type of real estate that's available, especially here with the lakes and the golf courses that are just phenomenal. With that being said, let's go into answering our three questions that we need to address whenever we're looking to buy a home in the area. So there's really three questions that we ask ourselves that really help our clients get better clarity, have less stress, and really make it much easier to purchase a home. So the first question that we ask our clients to answer for themselves is, what type of commute do you need? What type of commute are you looking for? So commuting is a way of life for a lot of individuals, given that you're commuting to work. Oftentimes, if you are working remotely, maybe that's not going to be as important for you. But if you're not working remotely, then you're going to find yourself going to work wherever that happens to be 5 times out of the week for sure. So again, number one, understand what type of commute are you looking for, because that's going to really dictate what part of the area that you're going to be in. So as an example, if you're going to work in Fort Worth, well, maybe the Colony might not be the best choice for you. You can still get there technically. There are roads obviously connecting you, but is that the highest and best use of your time? Is that something that you're willing to do? Given that there's other cities that might have similar characteristics to the Colony that would get you a little bit closer to home, right? Or to work. So again, the commute, that's something to really get clarity on before you start the home search. The second thing to get clarity on before you really start diving in, looking at some numbers and everything beyond that, is what type of community are you looking for? What type of lifestyle do you need? If you're the type of person that needs a lake, if you're a lake person, a lake lifestyle, well, the Colony sounds good. The Colony is right next to Louisville Lake, which is one of the most frequented lakes in the entire DFW Metroplex. So you're in a good spot. Now, if you're the type of person that enjoys entertainment, somebody that wants to go out and either to a different restaurant every time or just have a different experience, the Colony is actually a really good spot as well. Again, we were talking about Grandscape was built right in this neck of the woods. There's a ton of entertainment that's happening and going up almost daily. There's just so much construction, so much activity going on Sam Rayburn Tollway, to where it might be a good spot for you to consider. And you're pretty close to Frisco, so you, at any point in time, if you want to go and check out the entertainment scene up there, you're more than welcome. So again, what type of community are you looking for? What type of lifestyle are you looking to have? What type of schools? What type of, again, everything that has to do with your community, your lifestyle, is something that you really want to address for yourself. Now, the third question is the cost. What type of budget are you working with, right? So if you have if your max budget, as an example, is let's say $250,000, well, you can see right here that based off of the least expensive homes available for sale right now, we're priced out basically. If your max budget is $250,000 at the present moment, then there are 3 homes available for now, and chances are they probably don't meet your needs, given that they're under 1,000 square feet, right? So the cost is a big consideration at the end of the day. So those are the 3 questions that I ask our clients to answer for themselves before we really start looking at specific areas with any more intentionality, running numbers, looking at everything a little bit deeper when it comes to real estate, because unless we have clarity on that, it's just going to be running all over the DFW Metroplex and getting a little bit confused and a little bit more frustrated. All right, so let's check out the real estate at the present moment. There's 161 homes for sale right now in the Colony. And let's see, 10 homes listed under $300,000 in the Colony. So if your max budget, here again, if your max budget is up to $300,000, technically you do have an opportunity to purchase here. However, you're not going to have as many options. You have 161 homes available for sale, and of that, 10 of them are under $300,000. So oftentimes in this lower price point, you're going to see smaller homes. You're going to see homes that need a good amount of rehab. You're going to see a lot of homes that may not be ready for you to live in them and really make it your own quite yet. So just be mindful of that. So when we're looking at real estate prices, this is of course super important for us to really understand as we start looking for homes. Now let's see how many homes are available in the 300,000s. You see a good amount more present themselves. Now still most of them are around the 1,500 square foot mark in the $300,000 range, which is about right for the Colony at the present moment. So we're scrolling through here. So in the 300,000s, you're going to find yourself with 7 to 28, about 40 homes available for sale in the 300,000s, right? So you have more options. And even with the type of, this is a rehabbed home, even in the type of real estate that you're seeing now, you see that many of these have either been updated to a certain extent, either because they were rehabbed or fixed and flipped, or just basically the homeowners took well care of the home, so you would be in a good spot. So again, if you're in the area, if you're looking for a home in the area, you're in a budget of up to $400,000, you're going to be in a relatively good spot. Now, for a quick second, let's allow ourselves to dream before we start looking at houses more strategically and more and start breaking down the actual cost to live in one of these homes. We're going to give ourselves the opportunity to go and look at what luxury would look like in the colony. So you see, luxury in the colony essentially means building. All of the luxury, well, I shouldn't say all, most of the, yeah, I guess the most expensive homes, 8, 12, 13, the 13 most expensive homes for sale right now in the colony are all brand new builds. And basically it's high, yeah, it's I know exactly where this community is at, and it's a phenomenal community. It's since you're looking at one builder primarily that is building some incredible real estate here right next to the golf course. So if you're looking for that lake lifestyle, that golf lifestyle, that luxury lifestyle, then the colony might be a good play for you, as you see just some phenomenal new builds going up. All right, so that is a little bit of the luxury scene. You have a good amount of homes over $1 million mark, and incredible looking homes to say the least. So you would be in a good spot if you're looking in that price point, looking for an area that's very centrally located like the colony is. But with that being said, let's look at some numbers. Let's look at some property and really break down more of that home buying journey. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at one of these properties in great detail. We're going to look at it and go inside, check out the pictures, really point out a few things that might be important for us to take note on before we actually go through the purchasing process. So let's check out this home. This is around the average price point in the colony, Texas, as it sits today. So with most home searches, again, it starts in the online portal, which is where we are right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the properties pictures to see if this is a property that we would ultimately want to go and check out, and then go into the property description and check out some of the property attributes before we go into the breakdown of the loan types that we could use to purchase a property and understand what the mortgage payment would look like. So here's a few things. This is going to Zillow because most of you are using this type of interface, so I want to use something that's familiar to you. And also Zillow has really good resolution when you're looking at the picture. So I have to give credit where credit is due. So you're looking at this property here in the colony. Right now it's priced at $625. It did get a price cut on the 2nd of August. So you're looking at $20,000 off. 4 beds, 3 baths, 22 square feet. This was built in 1995. So this home has 30 years under its belt. Does have an HOA and has a relatively decent size lot. Let's see. I'm more used to seeing almost a fifth of an acre. So let's check out this property real quick and get some additional feedback. All right, so just some quick disclaimers before we hop on in here. I'm going to get pretty specific on certain things that might seem a little bit small, a little bit trivial, but the reason that I do that is because the small things really say a lot about the big things oftentimes. So in other words, there's going to be some minor things that I point out, not because I'm just trying to point out minor things to be a jerk, to be hypercritical, but more to really illustrate, hey, if we're not taking care of these minor things, these small things, I don't really have too much faith that the larger things, the larger, more expensive, costly things are being taken care of. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Also, the reason that I might sound a little bit critical when I'm going through these pictures and going and pointing out a few things here and there is because when you go and look at a property, you're not spending more than 45 minutes on average to make a decision on if you want to purchase that property or not. I'll give you an example. So my brother himself, like this is for everybody, but just a very personal example. Just yesterday, my brother, we went and checked out a new build home that just looked incredibly well. He spent maybe 15 minutes in it, and then boom, he's ready to go. So we have a limited amount of time in these properties oftentimes before we're actually making a decision. The reason I highlight that is because you don't have that much time, and it's our responsibility from a real estate professional to point out a few things that you might have overlooked. It's our responsibility, our fiduciary duty to protect in certain protect you in the transaction. So again, that's where I'm coming from. Number one, the small things really say a lot about the big things, and number two, you don't spend a lot of time in the homes themselves before you're making a decision on what to do. So that's why I'm sometimes a little bit hypercritical. All right, so we are looking at a 30-year-old home right now. I do like the fact that we have some gutters already in place, and I call these out because it's easy for us to overlook them. It's very challenging to overlook them once we're in the home and we find out, oh dang, we have to get gutters. That gets expensive. So I like to call that out ahead of time. So with more established homes like this, 30 years under their belt, at some point an owner of the property installed some gutters at some point, especially at this price point. But I do like to call that out once again. And I do have screens, which they have a different type of screen. You would typically see the black screens here as opposed to the white screens, which is a nice touch. You have some landscaping. Now the landscaping is relatively simple to take care of here. There's not overly complicated flowers and all these flower beds that might take a little bit more time, a little bit more expense to maintain. So this is, well, I guess these kind of are. So this is a relatively well kept landscape and pretty simple. So that's good. All right. So as you enter, you're immediately walking into your tile flooring, and then you have some wood on the stairs. Now, not everybody is a big fan of just wood on the stairs. There's some of us really enjoy the carpet on the stairs, but that is more of a preference thing. That's not anything that you can really change as much. Now, one of the things that I personally would have recommended was the staining of the banister here, matching that coat there, because you essentially had this and this all have that same type of finish. Well, maybe it would have made sense to do the handrail over here the same way. Now again, that's one of those things. This is more of a preference thing. That's not a safety thing. It's just kind of pointing a few things out here and there. All right, so right out of the gate, wow, this is a big table. So I like that table. So as you walk into the property, you have a high ceiling, which makes sense because you're going straight into the upstairs. Left hand side, you're gonna have your formal dining, and then as you continue going, so it's the front of the house. As you continue going on the left hand side, you're going to see your kitchen. Now oftentimes what you would see, or maybe more now, this is a 30-year-old property after all, there towards the early 20s, 2000s, early 2000s, you started to see a walkway in between here. So essentially where the fridge was, you would see more of a walkway. So you can go from the kitchen into the formal dining, so into the dining area. So here you see that you're going to come around. These are minor things. I'm not suggesting that you do anything with the property, but just pointing out a few things that as the years continue to as the years go by, as the builders continue to learn a few things, get more feedback, then you start seeing the changes in the properties themselves. Now you see a good amount of space here, counter space. You have your range here, you have your sink over here. I do like this breakfast nook over here. You have that built-in bench, which looks really cool. It's out of the way. It's the best way to maximize this little area, in my opinion. So I really appreciate that. Very well designed, very, very thoughtful layout. I like this kitchen. Good stuff. Now you're gonna see that this was updated at some point in time. So this is actually I would estimate this is a fairly recent update because you have a good amount of updated appliances. You have a really modern looking design. Now, outside of everything that you're seeing here, really the things that may not have been changed was the shelves themselves. The doors appear to be new. Appear to be original. They were just painted. So you're gonna have the original cabinets here, which is nothing bad. Just sharing that, yeah, you're gonna look at the updates that have been made, and it's all looking pretty darn good. All right, so we have a hint of teal here again, and I think we had teal on the walls, kind of. So that makes sense. You have your living room, hardwood floors here now. So your living room does have hardwood floors. That's where the tile ends. You have your second story over here overlooking the living room. You have plenty of sunlight over here with all of the windows in place. So it's not going to look doom and gloomy. And then we're back to our dining room. We took good care of the dining room. There's about 8 pictures of the dining room. This is your primary bedroom. Large bedroom here. It's hardwood floors. And oh, I like this. This was completely redone. This actually looks pretty darn recent. Completely redone. Well, maybe the cabinets were original, but that's okay. I mean, this looks incredible. Check out that I do like those things. I know they're not I don't feel that they are in style as much anymore, but I'm a sucker for these. These are still pretty dope in my mind. You have your this might be a half bath. So I didn't see a half bath in the listing, but that could be a half bath. You have the laundry room, you're upstairs. So upstairs you have your game room, very, very good size game room. So upstairs you probably have the game room or the landing spot, whatever you want to call this. And then you're going to have a bedroom upstairs most likely. So this bedroom is probably upstairs. At least one of them is going to be found up here. This is your second bedroom that is being used as an office, and I can tell that this is the second floor as well because you oversee the roofs there. Built-in shelves. All right, so this one was not as updated, and that's normal. Whenever you're looking at 2-story homes and more homes in this price point, it's not abnormal to have the primary bedroom, the primary bath to be updated, in the second or third or fourth, however many bathrooms you have, not receive the same treatment. Oftentimes is because you have the kids are out of the house. And you're really the only bathrooms that are being used is in the primary, so you don't necessarily go up here and splurge in the updating of an entire bathroom that doesn't get as much play anymore. I do like the pergola. I'm a sucker for pergolas. I'm so much of a sucker for pergolas that the month that I moved out of my house, or made the decision to sell, the month before, I installed a brand new, my brothers installed a pergola, beautiful pergola, a month before I decided to sell my house. So that's a weekend that they'll never get back, but I thank them for it. So again, pergolas are one of my favorites. I do appreciate those. This is a very, very well installed fence here. Almost pretty much it can serve as a privacy fence. I don't believe this is an 8-foot, but it is still pretty well built and built to last. There's a ton of room left in it. I dig it. All right, so let's look at the description real quick and then get into some property attributes before we start looking at the price of this home. I'm sorry, not the price, the breakdown of this home from the types of loans that we can use. Lake views from your front doorstep. Welcome home to this spacious, meticulous home with views of the park and lake right from your front door. This house has been lovingly maintained and is light, bright, and airy with the feeling of home. Gorgeous pool and backyard with covered pergola and stamped concrete that creates the perfect outdoor feeling space. I didn't call out the stamped concrete. That is shame on me. That I do appreciate some stamped concrete as well. Primary bath has been completely remodeled in grays and whites, creating a relaxing relaxing sanctuary. So yeah, I do think that this was fairly recent. 3 bedrooms plus game room and bonus room upstairs. That makes for the perfect study or reading nook. Kitchen has a soapstone countertops, timeless backsplash, and perfect breakfast banquet. Open living area offers views of the pool and tons of natural light. Lake access and marina nearby creates a lake vibe in the city. So it goes back to that community that you're looking for, that lifestyle that you're trying to recreate. While you're not necessarily right next door to the marina per se, you're a few more steps from that, right? So you're within a block, potentially 2 blocks from it. New HVAC, I do like hearing that, especially after the fact that we're looking at a 30-year old home. New HVAC, 40-year roof with Verdian barrier decking installed 2019. Pool resurfaced in 2022. Awesome. See transaction dash blah, blah, blah. Cool. So I like those big things. I like the big things being called out, especially the HVAC unit, because when you look at a 30-year-old property at this point, you are if you haven't already replaced your HVAC, you're very close to replacing your HVAC for the very first time by this time. So the fact that they've already replaced it, and most likely we're looking at 2 units for this size of a home, it's a huge investment that you that has already been made that you don't have to. So I appreciate the heck out of that. All right, so let's check out some details before we get into the breakdown of the loans, and then let's actually buy this house and look at some numbers that we're going to be using. All right, so we're in Denton, so we're in the colony, so that means part of it's going to be in Denton County, so we're in the Denton side of town. 1995, so again, at this point, we're looking at the age of it being about 30 years old, which the bigger items like the HVAC you're expecting to replace. The water heater has probably already been replaced as well, because that would typically has less life than the HVAC. So you have you're in that spot where a lot of the major things have already been rehabbed, and thankfully that based off of the maintenance of this home, from what I'm seeing, it's been done. Taxes, don't get married to this number, because this number is going to change dramatically. Don't get married to the property tax number. That's going to be different and I'll explain that as we calculate it, but just know that the property taxes that you see on listings have more to do with the property owner and the property than you and what the property is going to really be assessed at. I'll explain more about market value and assessed value once we go through that, but right now, see this for what it is. It's what the present owner is paying in property taxes. Don't count on you paying that. You're going to be paying more, most likely. Price, $625,000. So 4 beds, 2 bath, and so 2.5 bath. Okay. 22 square feet. Okay. So almost, let's say almost 3,000 square feet, about a 1/5 of an acre. All right, so all this information is going to be about the same, so we're not going to spend too much time with it. Association fees, I do want to know what that is. So 690 is about right. Louisville ISD, we're going to need that information once we get going. Let's see here. The association fee is annually. Okay. I have all the info that I need. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our Loan Clarity Advisor tool real quick. I want to hit that refresh button. And this Loan Clarity Advisor tool is going to give us the opportunity to present 3 different types of loans, 3 types of ways to finance this purchase. So this is linked down below, the Loan Clarity Advisor. If you do not see it there for whatever reason, check out whenthehouseyoulove.com and go to the calculator there, which is a channel that was created by one of our good friends, Kyle Seagraves. He's a fantastic content creator. He has Win the House You Love, that he's the creator of this particular advisor tool that we use here internally every single day. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to plant the scenario. We're going to really put in some numbers first in order to make the best possible calculations on the purchase of this property. So what we're going to do now is put 62500. All right, that's our purchase price. We're going to use exact amounts today. HOA, I believe, was 690. So what we're going to do now is going to go 690 divided by 12. And that means it's about 57. Yeah. 5750, which translates to about 58, so 690 per year. That's our HOA. Monthly insurance. For the monthly insurance, we just do an estimate. And the estimate that we use is the value of the home time the market value of the home. So essentially, if we buy it for this amount, we are going to multiply it times 0.75%. So 0.75%, so less than 1%. So we're trying to calculate what the monthly premium is going to be on this property. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 625,000 times 0.0075. So remember, it's 0.75%. So if you multiply that times the decimal, then you're looking at 0.0075. And the yearly homeowners insurance premium is going to be $4,687. So I'm going to divide that by 12, which gives us about $391 for that monthly insurance premium. This is a conservative number. I could go higher, I could go lower, but this is a reasonable number that you would be expected to pay with homeowners insurance. Now, for you, it's going to be higher. It might be lower. It just depends on a few amount of things. Like one, the age of the home. It depends on the location of the home. It depends on you, the amount of coverage that you're putting on that home, the amount of claims that have been made on that home. It depends on a whole host of things, but for all intents and purposes, monthly insurance is we're going to estimate it to be $391 per month. Now, monthly property taxes. Property taxes, it could be its own video. In fact, I have a lot of videos that are its own video about property taxes, but let's talk about property taxes for a quick second. When you buy a home, the first thing to understand is that you're paying property taxes. If you've been leasing, if you've been renting, property taxes are going to be new to you. That's normal. They were a complete slap in the face, brand new to me. Just whenever I bought my first house, I was astounded at why would I have to pay $1,000 a month on property taxes. It was just obscene, but it was the reality of the situation. Anyway, with that being said, we're going to calculate property taxes today. I'm just kind of illustrating what we're going through right now. So number one, you're paying property taxes because you're the owner of this property now. Second thing to understand is that in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, the average property taxes range from 1.8% to about 3% per year. So 1.8% to about 3% per year. When you compare those numbers I just gave you, that range that I just gave you, you're talking about a very expensive property tax rate when you compare it against the rest of the states in the country. So Texas is the sixth highest property taxed state in the country, with New Jersey being number one. So again, second thing to understand is property taxes are what some people would call high. I would be some of those people, with the range of 1.8 to about 3%. Now, the third thing to understand when we're looking for a property tax rate here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is we're not looking for just one number. We're looking for up to 5 numbers. I know it's a little bit weird, but we're looking for up to 5 numbers. Number one, we're looking for the city tax rate. Number two, we're looking for the county tax rate. Number three, we're looking for the ISD tax rate, so the school tax rate. And we're going to add those together come heck or high water. So there's those 3 that we're going to find across all cities in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex without exemption. City, county, ISD. We're going to need to find those. The other 2 that potentially can show up, the other 2 that can potentially show up is going to be the higher education tax. So think of community colleges, or the hospital network tax. So think of, if you're in Dallas as an example, think Parkland. If you're in Fort Worth, think of JPS Health Network. Those 2 numbers may or may not be here in the city of the colony. We're going to find the number today, but just be prepared. We're going to need to find those first 3 for sure: city, county, ISD. These other 2 that I just mentioned, the higher education and the hospital network, may or may not be here, but it's our responsibility to go and find them if we're going to get an accurate read on what we are actually going to be paying in property taxes. So what we have to do is we're going to go to Google and we're going to put property tax rate for the colony, Texas. All right, so we're going to go straight to their website first. We're going to give their website the first crack at getting this right. And they did not get this right. They gave us the city tax rate, which is 0.645, which for the city part of itself, it's actually high. But we just can't rest on that. We have to look at the rest of it. We have to look at the, do we want to use their calculator today? Now let's try to find it directly. Let's see if they give us in their finance portion. Finance portion. Nope, they still just give us this number. If we didn't have that information that I just covered of the up to 5 numbers, we would be taking this as 0.64% and calling it good, and that would be a huge mistake. We would be undershooting it by 5 times almost. So we got to find this information. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to, we can use a calculator. We can use this. Or what we can do is, let me go straight to the CAD real quick. We're in Denton County, so I'm going to go to Denton CAD. And if it's up today and if it's working today, we're going to look it up. So I'm not going to show this on screen right now until I blur out some contact information. No, it's still down. So this is a downside to some of these things. It's still down, and it's been down since yesterday. So we cannot look it up directly there. We're gonna have to go back to their estimator. No big deal. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go to Denton County. We're gonna hit up the colony, and we're gonna go to this particular school district was Louisville ISD, right? Yeah, Louisville ISD. And we're probably not going to be in a water district, but give me 1 second. Maybe if I go incognito mode. No, it's still down. Yeah, I was trying to go incognito mode. Maybe it was my browser, but no, it's the CAD is still down. And how convenient. Will be closed Monday, September. Well, I mean, it is Labor Day, but they don't even have a notice that the CAD is down. Okay. Here's the thing. We're in a good spot. I don't believe we're going to have a water district based off of, well, even we kind of might have it, actually. Let me see if I can. Maybe it is the browser. Give me one more last ditch effort. I want to go directly to the CAD, and I want to pull the information directly from there so you get the best possible shot of this being right. No. All right, so we're going to go with these 3 numbers. Now, I can't guarantee that we are not going to have a water district number to factor in, but I feel pretty confident that we're going to get close regardless. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit 100,000 in property, and we're going to hit estimated tax is going to be 1.959. So our property tax rate is going to be roughly almost 2%. So just to play the conservative side of me is coming up. So let's just to play the safe side of things, let's just go on the conservative side. And what we're going to do is we're going to say that it's 2% in property taxes, which is reasonable for the area. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over here and we're going to multiply 0.02, so 2%, times, we're going to use the market value of the home, which is 625,000 times 2%. Is that right? 625 times. All right, so the reason that we're using the market value, this is where I go into the explanation. The reason that we're using the market value is because oftentimes the market value is going to be higher. Most of the time is going to be higher than the assessed value of the home. And the assessed value of the home is oftentimes lower than the market value. So why are we using the market value? Well, because I want to give you a conservative number. And number 2, as the home continues to appreciate, like it or not, you're eventually going to be paying this in property taxes. The new, what was once the market value will continue to rise, and what used to be the assessed value will eventually become the market value. So as you continue to rise, you're rising together. And in return, also, if it starts to drop in price, you should be dropping in price together as well. So that's why we're using the market value to calculate our property taxes today. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide by 12 this number that I just that I just multiplied and got to. So our property taxes per month is going to be about $1,041. Now here again, most likely, I can almost guarantee you 99% certainty that this number is high. I'm gonna almost guarantee you 99% sure that the assessed value on this property is most likely $560,000, so less than this. So you're paying less in property taxes. If the CAD was not down, I would show that to you. But the good thing is again, when you buy your property, you have access to exemptions. Now you may not have access to all of the exemptions, but for sure you're going to have access to the homestead exemption, which is going to substantially drop your property tax, the assessed value for your property, for this property. All right, so we're looking at a conservative property tax amount, a monthly reasonable home insurance rate, and then your HOA. What we're going to do now is we are going to give you 3 different ways to fund this purchase. So we're going to go with conventional 5% down. We're going to go with FHA 5% down. We're going to go with conventional 20% down. Now, let's talk about loans for a quick second, and we're going to really speed up here. When you purchase a home, most likely you're going to take out a loan, and that loan is going to be called a mortgage. So when you buy a property, you're taking out a loan. That might not be new to you, but what will be new to you most likely is that there's different types of loans. Some of it's going to depend on how much you're trying to qualify for. Some of it's going to depend on what you personally bring to the table from a finance perspective, from a credit worthiness perspective, and a down payment perspective. So there's different types of loans that you can use to purchase a property. The 2 most common types of loans that you could use is a conventional loan and an FHA loan. So a conventional loan is one that the minimum down payment to get into that loan is 3%. A minimum down payment for your FHA type of loan is 3.5%. So again, you have different types of loan options out there, but the 2 primary ones that you're most likely going to be presented with from your lender is going to be a conventional loan and an FHA loan, and they have minimum requirements. That's one thing. Now, the reason that I go into the conventional 20% options because something happens when you own 20% of your home, especially when you put 20% down on your home. Well, once that, if you fall below that, let's just say you put less than 20% down in a conventional or an FHA loan, you're paying what's called mortgage insurance. And that mortgage insurance is a insurance that the lender takes out on you in the event that you default. So not only do they take their property back, but they're also minimizing or mitigating their losses with you by getting this mortgage insurance. And you're going to be paying additional, by the way, for this. So you're essentially you're paying more in this mortgage insurance because you don't have at least 20% ownership in your property. So that's one thing to understand. The second thing to understand, and the key difference to understand between a conventional and FHA loan, is that with the conventional loan, that mortgage insurance that we talked about, since we didn't put 20% down, that mortgage insurance eventually goes away, where you don't have to pay that any longer. So once you own 20% of your home or more, then you no longer have to pay that mortgage insurance. From an FHA perspective, you're going to be paying that mortgage insurance forever and for always. That's not going to change. Right? So just understand those differences before we get going, because that's going to be material as we make our calculations. For our purposes today, though, we're going to be using 5% down and conventional, 5% down FHA, and then 20% conventional here. The reason that we're doing that is because you're looking at the reason we're doing 5% down is because really that's the most common down payment amount or percentage that our clients end up working with. All right, so 30 years is going to be the length of our loan for all of these scenarios. The interest rate varies by the hour. It varies all across the board. So the best thing that you're going to want to do is going to go back to Google and find out what is the interest rate right now. So what is the interest rate right now to buy a house? We're going to go over to bank rate. And then depending on when you're watching this video, you're going to look and do the exact same thing that I just shared with you, but obviously it's going to give you a different number because we're not in the same time realm anymore. Time realm's not a bad word. I don't know. That's not the best way of saying it. But basically, you're looking at that at the time of this recording, Saturday, August 31st, the average fixed rate for us is 6.46%. So 6.46. All right, so we're going to use this as the standard across the board, even though the FHA rate is going to be a little bit different than the conventional, but we're going to keep it as simple as possible for our purposes today. That's the interest rate that we're going to say that we have access to at this point in time, because we do. Points. What are points? Well, points is you buying down the interest rate. So whenever you present all your documents to the lender's going to say, hey, this is your interest rate, 6.46%. You have the option of buying down that interest rate. Now, again, you're buying down that interest rate and you have that option. Well, one, that comes with an expense. That's what the word buy means. There's something that has to come out of your pocket. The cost to buy down 1 point, so you're buying down points. So to buy down 1 point is 1% of the loan amount. So if you borrowed $600,000 as an example, if you borrowed $600K, then that point cost you $6,000, 1% of the loan amount. So that's 1 point. Now, how much of a difference will that make for your interest rate? Well, you would like and pray that it would actually reduce your interest rate by an entire point as well, by an entire percentage point, but it doesn't. Really, the number that I give here, the number that I personally use is when I buy a point, I expect to get about 0.25% in savings from the interest rate. So here, if I buy 1 point, I'm looking at most likely my interest rate dropping to about 6.22 or something like that, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's not going to drop it again an entire percentage point, but it is going to drop it a quarter, give or take. So for $6,000, I'm dropping this interest rate to 6 point something. Now let's continue. Lender fees. Lender fees are going to vary all across the board. So sometimes lenders are going to really be expensive. You're looking at 2 to 3% of the loan value. Sometimes lenders are going to not be as expensive. So you're looking at 1 to 2% in the lender expense. So the lender cost. That's going to vary across the board. I'm not even going to calculate it here. I just want to look more at the numbers because your lender's going to look different. So the best thing that I can tell you is once you start shopping around and start looking at different lender fees out there, then just add them here so you can get a more appropriate estimate of what that loan would look like. All right, so mortgage insurance, we already talked about that. We're going to be paying mortgage insurance along the way. Extra payments. You can add extra payments into your loan here by adding here extra payments. You can do it based off of month or based off of a lump sum if you plan to do lump sum extra payments into your mortgage. This way you'll know how much faster you can finish off a loan, and also it'll give you an idea of how much you save if you do some additional investment into the principal of your loan. Now, what I really want to spend some time with right now is the loan cost breakdown. This gives you a really clear visual from the graph as well, a very clear visual of how much money costs, how much this loan is going to cost you. So if you go 20% down conventional, in 10 years, you would have paid about $301,000 in interest alone. That may sound like a large number because it is, but we are also talking about a huge loan that we took out to buy this property. Now, with an FHA 5%, so if we put 5% down, then from interest alone, we're paying $363,000. Why? Well, because we took out a much larger loan, right? Monthly mortgage insurance. Well, we talked about monthly the mortgage insurance being a thing because we didn't put 20% down. Well, from that alone, we're paying $27,000 over these 10 years, and given that we have an FHA loan, we're paying a finance mortgage fee or finance mortgage insurance, which is at 1.725% of the loan value. So here you're looking at how much you've paid in that fee alone. So this is a fee and this is an additional fee as well. From a conventional perspective, same thing. We didn't put 20% down, so we're paying that mortgage insurance. Plus, we're paying more in interest because we took a larger loan out. So that makes sense. All that to say that the conventional 20% after these 10 years would have saved you $100,000 when compared to the FHA 5% down, and would have saved you about $90,000 when compared with the conventional 5% down. And what's cool about this tool, which is linked down below, make sure you check it out. And if not, if you can't find it, just go to winthehouseyoulove.com and get it there. You can make this adjustment on the fly. You can see when this loan matures, what's that going to save me overall? Well, you get that information right here and right now, right? So that's a pretty cool tool. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about our monthly mortgage payment, because that's going to be something that we're going to see every single month. All right, so we're going to go into year number 1. So your monthly mortgage payment is going to change, believe it or not. Your principal and interest in the aggregate, they never will if you get a fixed loan, fixed interest rate. Your principal and interest are going to stay the same when you add them together. But what's going to change is your property tax amount, your homeowner's insurance amount, your mortgage insurance amount, and your HOA will eventually go up. Now, also, we include the HOA here in these breakdowns just so you see it on paper. This is not part of your monthly mortgage payment. This is outside of that. You're going to get invoiced your HOA fee at the beginning of the year or semi-annually, depending on when your HOA collects the dues. But we like to include it here just so you have that clarity. So when we're talking about the monthly mortgage payment for your conventional 20%, you're looking at about $46.37. Again, we're trying to buy this house here in the colony right now for $625,000 based off of the scenario that we just gave it. So our monthly mortgage payment is going to be about $46.37 with this type of loan. With an FHA, we're going to be paying more for this FHA 5% down because we borrowed more. So $55.38 is our monthly mortgage payment. Conventional 5% down is going to be $55.24 here, right? So this is real life scenarios. You're going to notice one quick thing, but between all 3 loans is that at the beginning of your payoff, at the beginning of your loan, so year 1, most of the payment is going towards the interest and such little goes into the principal. So you're paying so much more into the other stuff than the actual amount that you borrowed. That can sound defeating because it is, but at least we have awareness now, right? The sad reality of the situation is that when you get a 30-year loan, you're actually not going to be paying into your more into your principal than your interest up until about year 19 and a half. So about 20 years it took for you to pay more into the principal than into the interest. Well, you want to see that on paper? Glad you asked, because we can go down to the amortization table and I can prove that to you. So you see here again, the payment's going to be the fixed from the principal and the interest perspective. You can see how much more goes into the interest. Well, as you continue making payments down the road, you're going to see this number, which is the principal, how much you borrowed, and go higher. And then this number of the interest, how much of the actual total payment goes into the interest, go lower. So around 230 or so, which is year 19 and a half, you're going to see something happen. You're going to see that right here, you have you're paying less into the principal than you are into the interest. And then you're going to finally see by $2, you edged out the interest here. So you have the principal, you paid $18.70, and then to the interest, you paid $18.68. So again, year 19 and a half, give or take, that's when that inflection point happens. That's going to be a really, really good day for you. Let's talk about the rest of it though. Again, so this is all going to be changing, and you're going to notice the changes in payments along the way as well, depending on the year. Now, let me show you something pretty cool when we're looking at equity, because equity is pretty cool and pretty important. At any point in time with this tool, you're able to see how much of the home you actually own. And what's pretty cool here is that it lets you know, let's just say in year 25, how much of the home you own. Well, in year 25, with 5 more years left, you own 70% of the home. So in the last 5 years, this is so cool. In the last 5 years, so much is going towards your principal that you're going to be able to get 30% equity, the remaining 30% equity within just 5 years, those last 5 years. Because at that point, most of it goes into the principal. Now I illustrate that and share that for two reasons. One, for awareness. You really can't do much about where the allocation goes from the payment at the beginning. But the second thing that I really wanted to highlight here is, if you're able to put as much as you possibly can into the principal starting out, if you're able to, right? So if your payment is whatever it happens to be up here, let's just say year one, it's this, and you have, I know I'm asking for a lot, but if you have $500 more, if you could stretch yourself and do $5,000 more, so $5,000, wow, that'd be a lot, $500 more per month, well, that's $6,000 more per year. $6,000 more per year, that goes directly into the principal. You're edging out so much more. So look at this real quick. I'm starting to get a little bit amped here, but let's look at these first 12 payments, give or take. This is how much you borrowed. You borrowed $593,000. That's how much you borrowed. After 12 payments, after 1 year, you edged into the ending balance. What's that? $6,000. You paid off $6,000 of your balance. But look at how much you paid into the interest. Right? So if you could do $500 more into the principal, you would have done 2 years in one. And you're going to see that skyrocket. You're going to just see that continue to just skyrocket throughout. So I know it's a very crude explanation or crude breakdown, but if you're able to do so and not really, put yourself in jeopardy, putting some additional into the principal would be a huge savings. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings. Huge. Let's continue. The we talked about conventional 5% down having mortgage insurance. And we also talked about conventional 5% down eventually getting rid of that mortgage insurance. So here on paper, after 10 years and 3 months, you get rid of it. That's on paper. In reality, as the home continues to appreciate, your mortgage insurance can fall off a little bit quicker. So 9 years, 8 years, 7 years, depending on how fast the home appreciates. So that's something that I wanted to share with you. On paper, in 10 years, that mortgage insurance falls away. All right. So, this is year 1, isn't it? Let's go year 10. Let's talk about something else. So let's talk about something that's pretty cool. Let's talk about our exit strategy. This is a conversation that we have with our clients all of the time. Whenever we have a conversation with our clients, we do assessments. We do assessments on the entry, like what are your plans for your real estate needs right now, and also what are your plans for that real estate in 10 years, or 10 years really where we go, because statistically within 8 to 10 years, you're going to be going to another house. That's on the average. That's about how often people move. So our exit strategy will be in about 10 years. So we do the analysis of what that would cost us to buy and what that would cost us to rent. So if we do that analysis right now from an appreciation perspective, let's just say every single year for those 10 years, our home appreciated by 3%. Let's also say that the cost to sell after at the end of the rainbow in those 10 years, let's just say the cost to sell was, let's 6%, that's fine. That includes title work, that includes realtor fees, that includes maybe fixing up the house, or if you want to go 6.5, whatever number you feel comfortable with, make that. All right, so we're going to say 6.5, that's reasonable. Property taxes, we're going to say that our property taxes will rise by 3% every year. We're also going to say that our home insurance is going to increase about 3% per year as well. So this is a real potential. This is something that could very highly likely happen. This is not stretching the truth. This is not me putting my thumb on the scale to try to make it more favorable one way or the other. This is just a very realistic scenario. When we factor that in, after 10 years, if we were to buy this house in the Colony, which right now is valued at $625,000, well, after those 10 years, that home will have appreciated by $215,000. So it's valued more. Cost to sell, it would cost us about $54,000 to sell at the end of that tenure. our loan cost is how much we would have paid in interest, how much it would have actually cost us to buy this home from a conventional 5% down. From an FHA, it would have cost us $401,000, and from conventional 20% down, since we put more down, the loan cost would have been $301,000. Our property taxes, that's going to be the same across the board. We would have paid that in property taxes. Our homeowner's insurance, we would have paid about $53,000, and then the HOA, which here again, this is not included in your mortgage statement, but it's good to see what it would have cost you. It would have been almost $7,000. So after 10 years, your cost to own this home under this conventional 5% down would have been $434. Under an FHA 5% would have been $445, and on a conventional 20%, it would have cost you $344,000 to own this home. That's factoring in how much your home appreciated and also the expenses that you incurred from a financing perspective and property taxes, homeowner's insurance to buy this house, right? But what's pretty cool is, well, one, again, this is your housing need. This is what your housing cost is going to be for your next 10 years, basically. But for comparison, you can compare it against what the other option is, which is renting. If you were to rent this property out at $36.46 to enjoy the same type of home, the same type of environment, the same type of commute, the same type of community, the same type of everything, except we're renting instead. Well, if you were to factor in that you're going to be paying $3,600 per month in rent for this type of home in this area, in this community, well, we could also factor in an annual increase of about 3%. It would have cost you $501,000 to live in this house. Granted, so this is really factored in from a rental perspective as opposed to the purchasing perspective. Now, again, if you don't feel comfortable with this, if you feel like, hey, it goes less, it shouldn't be as much, make this adjustment. If you want to see it further out, if you want to see, well, after 30 years, what does that look like? Well, you get to see how much it cost you at the end of the day to buy versus rent, right? So you can make these adjustments every which way. Folks, I enjoy doing these breakdowns. Hopefully you do as well. If there's any questions, please feel free to drop them down below. If you're finding value in this content, please drop a like and a follow. That's going to really help out the YouTube channel and help us reach more and more people just like you. So this is how to buy this house in the Colony. There's so many different things that we can go into with all the other cities. So if there's a city that is in your radar, let me know in the comment section down below which city we need to do a breakdown on next. And if we can help you buy or sell here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, we would absolutely be honored to help you do that. If you have any questions, again, let me know in the comment section down below. Outside of that, see you on the next one. Bye.